Good morning, Patriots. Another great week, another great day, another opportunity to move forward. Did I use forward? I can't use that word. That's copyrighted by the left. So let's say move together to create a better future, but let's not move forward because we don't really want to turn the page the way they do. Anyway, without turning the page, without further ado, here's Chris Cordani. Chris, good
Heyo,
morning.
good morning. Oh, yes, it's been a weekend, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man, oh man. So turn the page, turn the
Forward.
page.
Oh,
Bye
boy.
bye.
Yeah,
What the hell?
we'll never go back.
We'll
We'll
never go.
never go. Here's the
No, we
funny
don't
thing.
want we don't want valuable currency that actually buys us food at the grocery store and is easy to put gas in the car. You don't have to worry about mortgaging your grandma's medicine or putting gas in your car. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we don't want to go back to reasonable rates and prosperity. None of that prosperity for us, right, Chris?
No, none of that. And I'm hearing these idiots from the left going, they're going to send us back to Jim Crow. No, we just want to go back to sometime before Obama when you're right, when we could afford gas and we could run a business without worrying about people breathing down our necks all the time. We could
Yeah.
we could put
Well,
regular people could put food on the table. How about that?
yeah, I know. Well, good. I want to talk about that for a second because Tim Walz is that kind of guy that violates your space. The 7-Eleven comes up and breathes on your neck when you're coming out of line. I really get that feeling about him. What do you think?
Well, he's the kind of guy that cuts in line too. And then when you say something about it, he says, "Yeah, listen, buddy, I was here like 20 minutes ago, and I'm just going back in line." Or he's one of those guys who the meme says he'll call the HOA on you if your grass is maybe a quarter of an inch above. But basically, he's a tattletale, and we know this. He's the guy who he's one of the governors who pushed forth this COVID snitch line. And I want to, and again,
Yeah.
these are the kind of people that are going to run the country. These are the kind of people that want
No,
a
no, no,
social
no, no,
credit
no,
score.
no, no. Don't say that. Don't say
That
that. We're
want to
not
run
gonna.
the country. They want to run
We
the
want
country.
we have someone running the country. It's not really Harris because she's doing things with Tim Walz. It's not really Biden, who apparently is wearing Donald J. Trump hats for folks in Pennsylvania, and actually was seen getting on Air Force One with a MAGA hat. I
Yeah.
think he was sending a message. I think it's like "f y'all." You know what I'm saying? So
Well, the man was visibly pissed. Joe Biden.
yeah.
He
Oh
was
yeah.
pissed off yeah, I'm the only one that could beat Trump. He was really angry because I'm sure he was pressed to step down a long time ago.
Well, let me
But
ask you a
then,
question before we go any further. Let
yeah,
me ask
right,
you a question.
right.
So, do you think he was a train wreck? We know why he's a train wreck. He's mentally compromised because of advanced Alzheimer's. At least that's my theory. I'm not saying that fact. That's my theory. It's my
Right.
belief. My sincerely held belief based on doing what I do a day or two. But my question to you is: do you think Kamala is playing better than a mentally compromised Joe Biden based on everything you're? Yes, right. There he is. And that's not AI. That's like, well, one could hope it was AI because man, there's no I in the A,
It's definitely
so to
not.
speak.
And there's a lot
There's
of
no
A.
intelligence in the I. Yeah. So
A
there you
lot
go.
of
So
A.
there you go.
Yes.
MAGA.
Uh, ok what was Kamala Harris. Again, there's a reason why the Democrats did not push Biden to step down or didn't 25th Amendment Joe Biden and tried to prop him up as somewhat competent. It's because they didn't even the insiders, even the deep state, even the Democrats did not want Kamala Harris to become president. They'll
Yeah.
say what they want to do now, but they're pushing for the superficial campaign. They're telling her to
Well,
hide in the basement. They're trying to sabotage her campaign from the inside.
well, I'm going somewhere with this, obviously, because the
Right.
good folks in the chat are paying attention and they're listening. So the next thing I want to add to this is because the numbers are tanking so badly. I think I don't want to sound like a conspiracy guy because most of the things I state as theories turned out to be fact. But gee, this Roth guy, Roth, he's like a Harris supporter. He's kind of a fringy guy who picks up every cause, left wing cause, and makes his own. Like he was in Ukraine recruiting soldiers for the Ukrainians. I suspect he was one of those mask up, isolate guys. He lives in Hawaii, although he's from North Carolina. His truck in his driveway in Hawaii has a Harris Waltz sticker on it. The guy was arrested, by the way. This is state-run media reporting this. This is North Carolina public radio saying that he has a criminal record here in North Carolina, where I'm at right now, to include theft, hit and run, and obtaining a automatic weapon, not an AR or AK, a machine gun. Chris, this guy
Right.
had a machine gun at one point. What I think something's going on, because as the more her numbers tank, the more desperate they're going to become. Do you think that this Roth guy is part of their desperation? And I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get us in trouble. All right, Ed, we don't want to get you in trouble, Ed, either. But just saying, there he is.
Well, there's that stupid subscription thing in advertisements. But yes, now you can see what this guy looks like. Now tell me he's not your typical Harris supporter and
He's a
Biden supporter
typical
right there.
progressive support any cause they tell him to support guy. I
Right,
mean,
there
it's
we
very
go.
clear.
The
Yeah.
the latest thing, but this guy again, he's a suspect at this point. He's not. He hasn't been
Oh,
tried and convicted.
yes, he's a suspect, but I
Right.
think
Hey,
they're pretty
we're on
clear.
we're on Ed's show, so I have to say that. But the fact
Yeah.
is, they picked this guy up. This is the guy believed to have done it. You're right. He has a criminal record in North Carolina. But
He does.
the Associated Press interviewed one of his neighbors, and his neighbor goes, "Well, you know what? He seemed kind of kind. He was nice. He was kind of quiet. Well, you know
Yeah,
what?
for a psychopath, he's kind of kind. I've seen psychopaths, he's lower on the scale than other psychopaths. Sure.
George Carlin said it best. It's always the quiet ones."
Well, this guy is so quiet because he's got a major media footprint. I mean, New York Times did a profile on him for his support of Ukraine. He's been out there talking about causes. He's been trying to recruit Afghan army guys to go fight for the Ukrainians. So this guy, and by the way, of course, his social media feeds have been taken down. Not surprised, but he had a pretty prominent profile on Facebook and on X both. I don't get X taking it down, because I would have thought that Elon would have fought that, but oh well. But he had he was exactly who you'd expect, who would listen to the extreme rhetoric of the left and act on it. Now, the question becomes, like the last guy that took a shot at Trump. Yeah, is this out of character for him? No, this is within character, I think, of both individuals. The question becomes, how did they know where to be, when to be able to potentially do something? That's my question. It's like, okay, this guy, he's a wacko, but apparently he got smart enough to do something with great clarity and precision to be at the right place at the right time, right, Chris? I'm
Yeah.
just asking questions here. I'm just
I'm
like,
gu- I'm guessing his bedroom has those sticky notes and the strings across
yeah,
everything, and with pictures of Trump upside down in his family. That's the weird thing.
right,
Here's something that Reuters brought up here, and this is very interesting. They left out one tiny detail. Reuters is saying the Secret Service and his agents were accompanying Trump to the golf course. Multiple agents engaged the gunman. Apparently, this guy had a gun barrel and he's hiding in the bushes near the property line. What I'm understanding is that this suspect has now said, and this is not in the newspapers yet, has now said that he was commissioned by the golf course to chase this troublesome gopher by any
ah,
means
yeah,
possible.
that's right.
Because he kept digging up the course, so he had to use the AK-47 or the I'm sorry,
We got to
the
we got to kill the
AR-15.
golfers.
Right.
No, I can't kill the golfers. No, golfers,
Right.
golfers.
Yeah. So he had to use the AR-15 style weapon to shoot those things, and that's
Yeah,
what it was. So that's what his defense is. Had to kill the gopher.
could be. Well, he did have that kind of groundkeeper Willie look to him. That's for sure.
Oh, that's
So,
another one.
well, that's another one. But well, but my point being is that the Harris campaign, as we started out talking about here, they're not doing well. I've been following this closely because it's my job. It's our job to follow this. Yeah. Oh, there's the gopher.
Yep.
Don't worry about don't worry about the wires. Doctor's orders. So, it's a great line. But look, this Roth guy couldn't have been hunting gophers. Just saying,
No.
because I don't think Trump would have put up with gophers. If you think he's bad against Democrats, I think he's worse on gophers. Just saying.
Right.
I think there may be an effort of gophers to organize against Trump, as a matter of fact, because he's so anti-gopher regarding being on the golf course.
Well, except for one gopher, the one that was a senator. He was pretty cool.
Well, that's different. He's a good guy. So
Right.
anyway, Fred Grandy, right? You're
Yes.
talking
Yep.
about Fred.
Yeah, the Grandy
So
Group was a good show.
former talk radio guy, my old hangout, WMAL.
Right, the
They
Grandy
fired him
Group.
for
I love the
something.
Grandy Group. I used to book a lot of guests on that show.
So yeah, and so I'm still friendly with the current team. Chris Plant and Larry O'Connor and Vince Colonnese, all great guys. WMAL. When you're in DC, that is a station to listen to. I'm on Saturdays with Rick
Mhm.
Fowler. Anyway, I digress. Back to the task at hand. So I think we have to focus on facts. So the Kamala, Chris, let's just face it. She's not a good candidate. I mean, I don't know how she got to where she is. No, I know how she got to where she is.
Yeah, come on.
Let's forget I said that. Let's forget I said that. Let's pretend I didn't say that.
All right.
But what I can say with great clarity and not get us in trouble, she was the most unpopular vice president in history, right? So
She was there. I mean, she makes Dan Quayle look like a pop star. So yeah.
yeah, man. If you Dan Quayle, for those who don't remember, I do because I lived through it. Dan Quayle was seen as kind of that guy that you'd see at your son or daughter's school event at school, who always was in the back, barely leaving his car to come actually participate in the crowd. He was always in the background, was very, kind of like, oh, he's here today. I didn't even know he was here. So if you look Dan Quayle, you make Dan Quayle look like an upfront public citizen doing great things. Man, you got a problem. And Walsh, what's this thing with his wife? Real quick, I want to hit this Walsh wife thing. I mean,
Right.
turn the page. I got to say, for someone who's running for an office of that magnitude, for Walsh to stand next to his wife, and not first off, I don't know if he knew that was coming or not. It didn't look like he knew. But secondly, I mean, that was I don't know. It was the worst of Schoolhouse Rock and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, it was like, what? What are you doing? And it was like, I don't know how that gained any points for anybody to want to vote for the Waltz Harris or Harris Waltz ticket. What do you think?
I think if you look at these two, Harris notwithstanding, Harris is a joke candidate. She's a novelty to begin with. Okay, then just put her aside.
Yeah.
Governor Walz is the kind of guy you look at and you look at him and just say, I could never trust this guy. Not only could I never trust this guy, I wouldn't really want this guy coaching my little league team, my son's little league team, just
Yeah.
because I don't want him near anybody like this, and not because of any joke or perversion thing, just because he's the kind of guy that puts stupid ideas in kids' heads, and he knows how to do it because he's a so-called educator.
Yeah, I know. As I look at those signs, speaking of like, because he has those signs that say coach, and I keep thinking of another word I can't say on the air regarding Kamala. And it's like, oh man, oh man, oh man. So just saying, it's like if I'm not the only person who can't be thinking that when they put up that coach.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be assistant coach, by the way. Again, he called himself at that white dudes for Kamala video thing, whatever it was.
Neighborly. Socialism is neighborly. Don't you know that eating cats is neighborly? Don't you know that turning your neighbor in when they don't comply with your Stalinist guidance is neighborly? Did you know that, Chris?
Yes, he did.
Now,
Yes. Yep,
that's right.
Eating the cats. By the way, he says, "I am the anti-Tommy Tuberville." I think I've worked on this voice. I think I'm pretty good at it. I'm the anti-Tommy Tuberville. I'm a coach too. No, Tommy Tuberville is.
I don't know. You sound pretty much like Beavis when you do that, but that's okay.
So does Waltz. See, there you go. Waltz is Beavis grown up.
Yeah.
All right, Kamala, this sucks. Trump sucks. All right.
Well, don't.
Hey, butthead. Let's put tampons in the bathroom.
Can't use that word "sucks" and Kamala in the same sentence.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. So, all right. Anyway, I had this great idea.
Anyway, but
right.
back to Trump and fighting. So, are we to believe, Chris, that somehow this Roth guy, who is apparently on a lot of people's radars, I mean, this guy has a criminal record, and how he got out of being in jail for like a dozen years after being caught with an automatic weapon, I have no idea. But I was on Newsmax early this morning, and I think it was John Nance pointed out, well, the reason he got out because of the criminal justice system, which won't hold people accountable like him because he's a lefty.
Right, he's a
You
lefty.
get a free pass.
Not
So
only
if you get
that,
caught with an automatic weapon and you're a lefty, oh, it's okay. It's
no,
okay. Cool.
not only that,
Just don't do it again.
I'm pretty sure the judge was sympathetic to him because we showed the picture of him a while ago. But think about this: you think that guy
Yeah.
would do well in prison?
I don't know. I don't know. You seem to know a lot more about that than me. So I don't know. I'll
Right?
leave
Hey,
it to
maybe
you. I
he'll
don't know.
enjoy it. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know about these things. That's something I have no idea, but it could be. So, but I don't. But to wrap up our thought here, because the good people and the good patriots are looking at this and talking about it. Everybody knows that something's up here. The autonomy of a weapon system. Yeah, I think there's a system at play here, folks. Something that's pure evil, and I don't believe any of this is random at this point. I'll leave it at that. But come on, Chris, twice in a month, like 3 days after the last attempt. Come on,
Right? No, no, no.
there's something to play here. But anyway, let's bring in Jerry, Dr. Corsi, who I know is at play because he's off doing things. Good morning, Dr. Corsi. Good morning, Jerry.
Big things this
Morning.
week, right?
Welcome to
Big
Wake Up
things.
Patriots.
This is going to be
Welcome to the show.
this is going to be a big week.
Yeah.
This
So,
morning,
before we
yeah,
before
go
we
ahead.
jump into everything else you've been doing, I want to get your take on the assassination attempt. Now, you and I have been friends a long time. We see things, I think, very similarly, but I'm just putting it out there because, gee, the rhetoric. I think they're almost using the rhetoric to justify some effort to get people like this guy spun up and directed. Because, come on, this guy showed up when Trump went unannounced to the golf course at exactly the right place and right time with the right weapon. Something's going on, Jerry. I mean, something's up.
Well, it can't be coincidental. I mean, no, you can't just show. He was just
No.
sitting there waiting for Trump to play golf. I mean, camping out there for weeks waiting for Trump to play golf. He was there for a purpose.
Yep.
And somebody had to put him there for a purpose. So he has connections one way or the other, and where those connections are, we don't know yet. Although I think they'll be quickly investigated. I mean, this is a guy who was, in Ukraine. He was trying to recruit Afghan volunteers to go back to Ukraine. I mean, this guy is a nutcase, but he's a well-known nutcase, and he's a nutcase with a criminal record. I mean, this is not the hate Trump group has gone insane, and I've said from the beginning, we even had a proposal to Trump to get private security in here to supplement what's there for the Secret Service. They wouldn't listen to us. The campaign did not listen to us.
Well, I know it's crazy because at minimum, knowing just the bare minimum, I'm not an expert on this location, but just knowing that there's a perimeter that's unsecure around his golf course. Gee, Jerry, wouldn't you think that you should have enhanced security, just like roving people in a back of a Ford F-150 with guns driving around? I mean,
any professional, security organization would secure the golf course before Trump was on it, and whatever secure the golf course meant, but they would have ways to do it. I mean, you're not going to let the person you're protecting. It's not hard. I mean, and it's obvious, and so but the other obvious thing is that the Secret Service does not want to protect Trump. They're not, okay, so they're under their rules, since he's not president today, they don't have to secure the golf course. But, he's a former president. They could extend the courtesy if they wanted to do so.
Of course. No, Jerry, let me hit that real quick. So as a threat expert, not that I'm a threat, just saying, but as someone who judges threat, let me rephrase that for the audience. As someone who has to judge threat, you always examine the threat based on the likelihood of it threatening you and doing something, and then taking the available resources and assigning them based on countering it. So that's my issue here. The Secret Service has no dearth of resources, especially when you throw in DHS. And this is where DHS augmenting Secret Service may kind of make sense. Like, okay, you want the core Secret Service guys to be around Trump, to be in his bubble, because the bubble is what found this, by the way. The forward-moving bubble going to the next hole ahead of Trump found the guy in the bushes. But more importantly, you could have professionals. I know professionals in DHS who could do essentially a threat evaluation of the larger bubble around Trump. So in my judgment, there's absolutely no financial or operational reason not to give Trump a sufficiently robust detail at this point. This is a political choice. Would you agree with that, Jerry?
Yeah, it comes down to the Secret Service does not want to protect Trump, and they're happy to have him be a threat. And if he gets killed, they don't seem to care, because if they cared, they'd protect him.
Right.
Very simple. And they have the ability; they can make the judgment call. They have the resources. There's nothing that prevents them from, going the extra step and saying we're going to make sure Donald Trump is safe. And it's disgraceful. Again, it shows the political nature of our bureaucracy and how they've, it is now anti-Trump to the core.
Yeah. Well, I want to go because there is a reason I'm circling this right now to get back to your update.
Well, you're circling
that's
back,
where I'm going
right?
next.
Circling back.
Circling back, like Karine Jean-Luc Picard, only without the phasers.
Wasn't that Jen Psaki?
Yeah, Jen Psaki. It's like I always think of getting drunk anytime I hear sake because I think of like Japanese wine. It's sake. It's sake. I get them all mixed up. Sorry. My mistake, Jan. I don't mean to commingle you with alcoholic drinks that make people stupid. Just saying. Not that there's a connection. There's no connection there. But anyway,
yeah, we're done with KJP anyway.
I am connecting the dots here because the next thing I was going to bring up, Jerry, is Harris's falling numbers. Now, they're doing everything they can to keep her like propped up. It's like, we got to keep her, but her numbers are falling. Her numbers are falling because nobody's buying into what she's selling.
Well, the air's coming out of the balloon. I mean, it's like, she's got nothing. And if you let her talk,
that's my point.
She's
nobody's buying it. But that's my point. Now, so they're going to have to fall back. I think this was their second attempt to remove their primary problem, Donald Trump, but it didn't work. Obviously, thank goodness, thank God. But the next thing they're going to try to do is go back to the old. They've already tried the Russia collusion thing. Oh, Russians! Who's those Russians? Did you look under your bed, Jerry? There's Russians under there. Just saying. They're going to come out and grab your ankles when you get up in the middle of the night to go get a drink. Just saying. So you got to watch out for those damn Russians. And man, oh man, they're trying that, but it's not going to work. But so the next thing they have to go back to is what they've done before, which is cheating. So you got an update regarding the algorithms, which we want to hear about because Jerry, I think that's all they're going to have left if these other things don't work.
It is. We're doing a lot of announcements are coming. Till today, we are releasing to the Ohio Secretary of State's office a report it's on God's Five Stones. You can take a look at God's Five Stones. We'll have it up there very quickly.
God's Five Stones, yeah.
It's G-O-D for people listening. G-O-D, no apostrophe in the S. God's, and you spell out five, F-I-V-E.
I'll put a link out there.
Stones, S-T-O-N-E-S, God's5stones.com. It's our 501c3. We're listing all the information here. So today in Ohio, we're releasing Dr. Andrew Paquette's report showing that there is an algorithm. There is a secret algorithm in 3 counties in Ohio. And it's a very complicated mathematical algorithm. It's called it's modular arithmetic. And we're releasing this report. So it's being prepared right now. We'll have a press release. We're going to send it to the Secretary of State, to the Public Integrity Officer who has agreed here. You can see on the website to take the report. That's Brian Katz. The report will be comprehensive, preliminary. We've got more work to do.
Right.
We've got the forensic work to do if they'd allow us to do it, or we could really get in there and, do some field surveying, see how many people in their voter database are real and how many are not. And the questions, this algorithm, this is like a secret code in the Ohio official Board of Election voter registration database that I believe the Ohio officials do not know is there. And it'd be almost impossible for them to know it's there because it's a complicated mathematical formula by which the voter list is rearranged so you can insert false voters, non-existent voters, who can yet get a legitimate Ohio voter ID number, which means they're now on the list to vote a mail-in ballot, which will be certified because the false record of their ID number in the state. They're non-existent. Because they vote a legitimate number, and that legitimate number goes through the machine as a mail-in vote. You've now got a certifiable vote for a non-existent voter. It's a very complicated scheme, and it's nefarious. We're finding it in various states. So we're going to report it today also to the Ohio Attorney General.
Yeah.
Because it's criminal that this is even there. It violates HABA. And we don't know who did it. You know, I'm not saying
I have theories.
Well, there's plenty of theories. I'm asking for discovery. In other words, we're not making wild accusations. We're not saying we've got the Kraken, but we can prove we can prove that this algorithm exists, and we can prove what it does. Well, that's a great starting point for saying that Ohio's going to the election with a fraudulent voter list, or a voter list that can include, because of this algorithm, non-existent voters as if they were real. Now, if that isn't a problem, I don't know what is a problem. We don't know who did it. Okay, now the point is, we're going to come out today with a press release. I will have an article up on my Substack, which is jeromecorsiphd.substack.com. We'll be blasting this on X. The press release will be out and available along with the report. Everything's going to come up within about an hour or two. Everything will be up on God's Five Stones. Everybody can see it. And it's going to go to the Ohio Secretary of State, the Ohio Attorney General. We're going to file it with the Federal Election Committee as a commission, as something to be investigated. I'm going to send letters to the chairman and ranking members of the House and Senate Judiciary Committees with a recommendation that they refer it to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be and this is Monday. Okay, so on September 16th, we're doing Ohio with Paquette's report. On Wednesday, we're going to do the same thing in New York, the same set of filings. And then on Friday, we're going to do the same set of filings in New Jersey, because Dr. Paquette has found algorithms in all 3 states. Then next week, we've got a whole list of states that we're going to be working on to report. I'm going to be working with Texas, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Colorado, and Arizona and Oklahoma. And we're going to be doing reports on each of their voter registration Board of Election databases. And we're finding these algorithms and other problems within these databases are rampant. I'm not sure that there's a state that hasn't been tampered with. And this is a huge story.
Yeah.
Because, again, we're saying we want to prevent this is before it's being used. Now, it looks like in Ohio, this algorithm has been there since 2007. And it can also, in each of these states, that all these algorithms to vote non-existent voters as if they were real, which the criminals could do with these algorithms.
Of course. Well, it's creating a digital footprint to go with an artifact that a person has to act on, right? I mean, you have to have both.
They look like a person, but it's all digital. It's all manipulated in the computer.
So, well, let's hit that for a second, because I want the people.
One other point: you can also use these for the down ballot elections, and you can use it for the congressional and other local elections. So these algorithms reside here, and to be activated at any time in elections that are appropriate. So it's not just the presidential election that's affected. So in a state like Ohio, Sherrod Brown is running for re-election to the Senate. It's a very hotly contested race. And it's one, again, that I think has to be watched to see if the algorithm is kicked in to be used in favor of Sherrod Brown.
Right. Well, so let me put this in context for everybody, because I know that we all 3 understand it. I want to make sure that everybody in the Patriot audience understands. So, why do we see constant erroneous polls? Remember, Jerry, this goes back way before 2016.
That's right.
Why do we see constant polls which you kind of know are wrong? It's like, how is that person 10 points up? And you recognize the sentiment on the street is the opposite. And by the way, I saw this in 2020, where I lived in Northern Virginia. And Jerry, even in blue Fairfax County, Trump signs were everywhere. Very few Biden signs. So it's kind of like, how is it possible that everybody's acting one way in public, but according to the polls, it's something else. Well, this is why. What Jerry is saying is linked directly to the perception the left wants to build regarding polls. So that when the voting comes in, they use these algorithms to manipulate it. And on the other end, they can say, "Well, the polls. Look at the polls. See, this was going along all along." So it's essentially a sandwich of perception management, right, Jerry? They're
Yes,
trying to they're
yes.
trying to prime the pump. Oh no, don't worry about all these signs and sentiment. He's really up in the polls. And then on the other end, when it happens, they've done everything they can to paper over the reality using algorithms so that on the other end, it's like, yeah, he won. The poll said it. But there's been a disconnect between the polls and results because they've had some breakdowns. And I would argue in 2016, that system broke down for them. That in those close races, the algorithm didn't quite kick in as it was supposed to. And I don't want to get into why. But is that a good way of explaining to the folks of why they have to lie with the polls up front and then they have to do the back end thing with this to kind of paper it over and make it look real? Is that a good theory of how it works?
It's an excellent theory. In fact, you can see it also in Europe. And in Europe, the parliamentary election that was just held, the first round of voting, the conservatives did very well.
Right,
Second round of voting, the left swept through the election, and they said, "Well, the left woke up. It surged. We woke up the left."
France,
Okay, now,
same thing.
France and Italy and through the EU.
Remember, they like Jerry Lewis. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I called up these countries and said there was no surge. Dr. Corsi said no surge in the polls. There's nobody voting. The surge is happening in the computers.
Exactly.
Oh, here's
So
can I bring one thing up because you guys? It's important to note that Dr. Corsi said this algorithm may have been in Ohio since 2007 because we all remember, or I hope we remember, in 2012's election, the presidential election, there were districts, at least one I remember, where Obama received 108% of the vote in one Ohio county. Basically, there were in some areas of Ohio there were more voters counted than actual registered more votes counted than actual registered voters in some areas. Let's coincide that with the idea this algorithm was there in 2007. Now let's talk about the potential.
But
this is in multiple
Chris,
states.
hold on. There was the same thing in California where Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch was coming up with numbers
Right.
which didn't match the registers. So this is an anomaly that's been reported before, right, Jerry? I mean, this is not.
I think
this has been seen.
Yes. What we found the algorithms, and we can prove mathematically that they're there. I mean, this is like the Pythagorean theorem. You might not like it, but it's been in Euclidean geometry for a couple thousand years or more. So it's reality, and it explains a lot of the anomalies we see. So now, suddenly, through this week and next week, I'm going to be coordinating with all these states, with Pennsylvania, with Georgia, with Texas, with Oklahoma, with Arizona, Colorado, and I'm going to be starting to report on all of these anomalies and how they fit into what we're finding with the algorithms. And in the meantime, Dr. Paquette is going to be looking at the databases, the state databases, and what we're finding is in a state like Ohio, they didn't use the algorithm in every county. Well, they didn't need to because a lot of the counties in Ohio are small and rural, and a big blue surge would not be credible.
Right.
So they don't bother with those.
Well, so that's the second thing I want to hit real quick is because, you have to make it look authentic. That's why I talked about the polls matching the outcome. But Jared, the other thing that you're doing, which is unique and wasn't done last time, which resulted in less than favorable judicial outcomes, was a lot of the standing issue. One of the things they hit Trump on in his last debate was, "Oh, you lost all these cases," and Trump said, "No, I didn't have standing." So there's a huge difference. If you don't have standing, means you don't even get to the start line, right, Jerry? I mean,
That's
it's
right.
like
the courts are not going to hear these cases because the courts consider elections political, and they don't want to make judicial decisions on political processes.
Well, but the thing is, though, one of the other criticisms which didn't get him standing is, well, if you had a concern, you should have filed this before the election.
Well,
you guys are doing that.
We're doing it
That's what you're doing,
before,
right?
And also, there's a difference here. We're saying the algorithm exists, and we're saying, okay, first of all, why is it there? Who put it there? How is it used? We're asking a lot of questions.
Right.
We're not making a lot of accusations. I'm not calling anybody that whoever put this in the Ohio voter registration and the Board of Elections is a criminal. There's some criminal acts occurred. Okay, but I'm not saying that it was the Board of Election officials. I'm not sure who the criminal was. I want to find out who the criminal was. I think the algorithm is of the quality that an intelligence agency would do. And I am suspicious that the intelligence agencies have decided to start running our elections. And these algorithms,
Well,
finding these are a frightening thing. I mean, if you can go into the
we talked about this the other day, Jerry, without you being here. I said, look,
Yes.
part of my issue is that I'm aware of how these sorts of algorithms are introduced into a system. I do because I used to do it. I know how it's done. So my concern is obviously knowing, and I got to be very careful here because what I know is still super duper classified. What I know could be done based on what we've done is frightening. And and when I think about if you turned that knowledge against the American people, it's very frightening. And I think that's what we're coming to find here. Again, I'm not making accusations. I'm just saying if it walks like a duck, it makes it sound like a duck, it's going to be eaten by Haitians. Just saying. I mean, it's
or a cat.
anyway. Anyway,
but
I think that's what it is.
The point is, if we follow us on God's Five Stones, you're going to see an increasingly deep amount of information about the algorithms. And through this week and next week, we're going to be posting a lot of material in here. And if you follow it, what you're going to see is the alteration of a system by covert intelligence cryptography that modifies the database so that the criminals can run it their way.
Yeah.
And if we don't have legitimate, honest voter registration lists that list real people who are eligible to vote and keep the non-existent people out from being imposed into these lists by algorithms, I mean, this is fundamentally, we're architecting here a Truman Show where, your vote doesn't really count because the algorithms are going to decide the day at the end of the day. Now,
well, look, no, we've agreed on this, Jerry. Now, let me make this clear for the audience. There's no reason to have a system counting your votes. You need to have a machine, a ballot counter. You count your votes. It's recorded. Some person pulls that number off of that machine. They then put together a manually count the number of things. Then that's sent to the state and then introduced. There's ways of doing this. I've seen it done. Don't be fooled. You don't need a system. You need individuals who understand how to count votes. But I think that's the issue, right?
Well, yes, and also what we're finding here is fundamentally different than what's been done before because what we're finding is indisputable. We can show you the mathematic formulas behind which voters are put onto the list and their numbers are assigned by the states. So we can explain how the states are assigning the numbers. They're not assigning them anymore by the date you register. That's that natural way of assigning numbers to voters that's the first thing they do is get rid of that, the natural order, which would be chronological. You register, you get number one, you're first, you get number. Okay. Your voter ID is chronological in relationship to when you register. Once you get that out of the database, now you've got the ability, you've shuffled the cards in a card marking scheme, and you can put your marked cards, which are the non-existent voters that you've created, into the deck to make them look like real voters, and you can vote those when you want to vote them, the way you want to vote them, and you can swing an election. That's what's at risk here. And if we demonstrate through and have just a mountain of material here on the algorithms, I think people are going to realize that this intelligence agency infiltration into voting is the major issue of 2024.
Yep.
This is the major issue.
No, right. And so another person shining light in the darkness is Cherie Curry. Good morning, Cherie.
Hi, Cherie.
Well, good morning. What an interesting conversation.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you're doing the same thing the other way. You're trying to convince voters to leave the darkness and join the light. Jerry's doing it algorithmically. You're doing it with people that actually are trying to do walk away. You're making the other folks walk away and destroying their algorithm. So you're like an algorithm buster, right? We should do
Yeah,
like a
there we go.
Ghostbuster thing with algorithm busters. That'd be great.
Perfect. No gophers either.
No gophers. That's right. So welcome, Cherie.
Thank you.
And we're here to talk about Jerry. We're here with Cherie. Cherie did a walkaway video, which I had the privilege of seeing early and commenting on. And first off, thank you for your continued courage and bravery to say what we believe people need to understand, that they've been lied to. And thank you, Cherie, for being one of the leaders and waking people up from their sleep. So thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure. It's anything to save America.
So let's talk about you actually did this video last week. Tell us a little about you've been a pioneer in a good way since you were a teenager. I mean, literally. I mean, you were a
Yes.
pioneer rock star. You were part of the Runaways.
You broke
And,
the glass ceiling.
You broke the glass and you ran away, by the way. It's kind of in the name, right? So you ran away and you came back and you came back stronger, better. I sound like a song.
You're
But
more
anyway,
Brett, you're more Brett than Kamala.
that's right.
Oh,
That's
God,
right.
it's like,
Yeah.
that face. It's
So you did a video. So Scott Pressler was out with you. So tell us about what you did with Scott in your runaway video. And I think Chris is going to play a little bit of it here in a minute. So go ahead. Sure.
Scott? Oh, you mean Brandon? Brandon Straka.
Brandon.
Yeah.
I'm Brandon.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Brandon.
Sorry,
Yes.
Brandon.
Well, I've been a fan of Brandon's since 2018 when his very first walkaway video was released. And he reached out to me and asked me if I would do a video. It took me about 3 months to do it. But, I'm so horrified right now that if Kamala Harris wins, that I will do absolutely anything. I'm telling you, Tony, I'm going to come out. We're going to, I'll join that militia if there is one, whatever it takes. And so I did the video, and the first one was 27 minutes long. That's how much content I had. So I had to cut that down. And but it's really an honor and a privilege to do what has always been in my heart. And I've always really, I believe, been a conservative, Ronald Reagan Republican. But, this business in Hollywood, it's a big bozo no-no if you're not a Democrat. And but anyway, to me, it's what's happening to our country right now, and the absolute horror of Kamala Harris, who literally did nothing as vice president. I mean, nothing. I mean, I just really realized that this was all just window dressing for the elite, the shadow elite, and also Agenda 21, which we've talked about so often. It was
Agenda
time.
2030 now too. What you're pushing for that now too.
It's the same thing. All they did is just rename it. Because I truly believe, and according to the book, it came into George Bush Sr. was the one that kind of, said time for a new world order, but he was only a one-term president. Yeah, one-term president, passed the baton to Bill Clinton, who put the rubber stamp on it, and they knew it was going to take at least 30 years, and they knew what they had to do. Which was to steal a generation of children, which is also something I'm with Leaving Amy, the film Leaving Amy, about transgenderism and this cult that is stealing our kids, maiming them, sterilizing them, ruining families as well. They don't care. They don't give a rat's behind. They want complete and utter control of the world.
So this is we've talked about this, you and I personally, and then Chris and I talked about it separately. It's like they picked up the George Orwell book 1984 and they saw it as a how-to manual rather than a warning. And it seems to me they've invoked a number of elements of that: future speak, memory hole, all these things which we thought, and I as a kid, in the 70s, was exposed to George Orwell, and I thought this could never happen. This is like so far removed from any reality that I could understand. And then here we are, you know, uh, 50 years later. You and I are very similar in age, just saying. So we've been around and seen this stuff, and it's so much of that is actually coming true. The idea of controlling history. You must He who controls history, he who controls the past controls the future. The whole concept of manipulation of information and media to create perceptions which have no basis in fact, but become that thing that you act on based on sentiment. And the sentiments right now, I think, are most dangerous by the fact that so many things that we see playing out before us, Cherie, have to do with undermining traditional institutions, because they always talk about institutions like, no, no, you guys are the ones destroying institutions, and convincing us somehow that giving our children to the state, and that's what this is. This is all about the idea that the state knows better than you as a parent what's good for your child. And then, back when we were kids, they were trying to stop us from smoking, which I never smoked, just saying, but you can't drink or smoke till you're 18. Now it's okay. It's all of a sudden it's okay if you're 10 years old and you like Barbie dolls and you're a kid, you're a boy. Oh, we're going to turn you into the Jane. That's how crazy it's become, right?
Oh, yes. They encourage it and they get the kids right at the most vulnerable age.
Right.
When you're in elementary school, some of these kids, I mean, 7, 8 years old, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I've really had to research my own life. I went through all my photo albums and I could remember I wasn't thinking about sex. And why are they encouraging this and putting out these books of really children fondling each other and I mean, these books are so outrageous. And Tony, and Chris, we've talked about this. Had they attempted this in the 90s, they would have been blood in the gutters. And there is no
100%.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
Never would they have been able to get away with it. But this progressive left movement, where everybody is they just seem almost hypnotized parents these days. They don't seem to, they just, the kids can't do any wrong. But I'll tell you, I've seen photographs of parents with children that have just had their breasts removed and the smiles on their face, like, and I think to myself, this is truly like a Stepford Wives type of a deal here. All I do know is that children are killing themselves, 50% higher rate in suicide after they go through transition.
Right.
And the worst part of it with this transgender movement is that they will encourage the child all through all the brutality and the maiming, in my opinion. And then if the child turns around and says, I think I made a mistake, they just cut them off.
Yep.
They walk away and they leave this kid maimed, feeling that nobody's going to want them. And that's when they really commit suicide. And the government doesn't care. These doctors don't care.
No. The doctors and government. This is a profit margin. It's profit center for them now. Sharita. This is big business, and so I want to talk about the fact that you have this nexus of big business with this concept of Marxism, and I think it's important for people to recognize that so many of the left don't have ethics. There's no ethics on the left, and this is one of the things I think you hit pretty clearly in your walkaway videos, that there's no ethical reason for any of this. This is all about trying to essentially change the fabric of society that goes back decades, as you point out, and you're trying now to simply speak the truth as you've lived it. So tell us about. I don't think we have time, Chris, to go through the entire video, but tell us about kind of some of the things you talk about in the video, Sharif, if you could, and people should go check it out on X.
Well, what I noticed was first, I was a big Hillary Clinton fan. Boy, was, my twin sister and I, we were really brainwashed. And But when she didn't win the nomination, the Democrat nomination, there was this really good-looking, charismatic man of color that just said all the right things. And it was so exciting to me because I never really experienced racism, not in my life, not
Right.
especially in
Me
my
neither.
business. So many African American singers and players, and I mean I've been friends with so many. So this whole idea of racism just didn't resonate with me. But
Right. Same
I
with me in the
also,
military. Military is the same way. Absolutely.
yeah. And so in the back of my mind, because I'm not going to lie, I was thinking, this is just going to be great. This is going to put this racism thing out the window. Done. We don't have to hear about it anymore. And I enthusiastically voted for Barack Obama. And but it didn't take more than a couple of weeks after he was in the White House, where he wouldn't put his first thing is he wouldn't put his hand over his heart for the national anthem. He would do what I call the crotch salute, where he would just cup his crotch when everybody else is patriotically have their hands on their over their heart. And when my dad fought, in World War II in the Pacific on the front lines, uh, as a gunny sergeant paratrooper in the Marine Corps. And I was furious at that my father and all the other veterans and the active military were not being respected by the president of the United States. That was number one. That was when all of a sudden I started to wake up, and I mean quick, because I knew that there was something very devious going on here. Because how does a president, the first Black president of the United States of America, get away with that? He was so emboldened, and I didn't understand why. And so I started to look into this guy, and I was not liking what I was finding out. And then my wonderful ex-husband, Robert Hayes, took me to a black tie event over in Simi Valley at the Ronald Reagan Library, and Gary Sinise was putting this on, but it was a very secret community of Republicans that didn't feel comfortable letting the industry know that they weren't Democrats because it would hurt their careers. And it was the most magnificent event I had ever been to, because the real stars that night were our active military and our beloved veterans. And it was just, I mean, it brings tears to my eyes because they were honored so well that night by people that were so giving and compassionate and inclusive. And I really realized I've always meant to be with these people. And so that started my journey.
So I think it's important for people to recognize that in the context of what you're talking about, Cherie, this is a journey of self-discovery in a way that others don't fully understand. I encourage people to get your book, Neon Angel. It's right over. See, I've always got my neon angel over my shoulder, Cherie.
Oh,
And
thank you. And I have my Operation Dark Heart right there. And
that's right. So, but my point being is that Cherie's voyage has been through darkness back to light. I mean, I'm saying this because look, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I had a lot of dark days, and so it's not like we haven't been down the other path. We've seen what it's like to be on the other side. And it's like, yeah, that's all darkness. We don't want that. So I think we've all had this journey back to the light, and I think that's what's most notable about the way you portray your story in your book, as well as how you talk about things. Now, this is not like, oh, rah rah rah. It's like, no, no, no. We've tried both sides. We've seen both sides. And when you see both sides and you understand what's real and what's not, you want to come back to the light. And I think that's what's most notable about the way you approach this. And I think people are going to be very happily, I don't want to say surprised. They're going to be very happy in the way you do this. And by the way, shout out to your dad. I don't think people understand how horrible the Pacific War was. And for those who don't understand it, I have no dog in the fight. I'm putting it in the chat. The unauthorized history of the Pacific War, done some by a couple of really good guys, a former Navy captain and a guy who runs a museum down in Louisiana, go through and they talk in detail about how bad that war was. So God bless your dad, Cherie. People need to understand that his fighting was no small issue. It's like, oh yeah, he's a veteran. No, 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 no. Veterans of the Pacific War are a special kind of veteran. I don't think people who don't understand the fighting. Europe was one thing during World War II. The Japanese fight was something completely different. And I don't have time to get in details, but just check out the Unauthorized History of the Pacific War podcast. You will understand why what Cherie's father did was so important and why we honor his service as a Marine. And I think it's important that we recognize that the sacrifice of people like Cherie's father should not be lost now, because we're the next generation. Well, we're older now too. We're getting old, Cherie. Just
I
saying.
know.
We need to do what we can to preserve their legacy. Sorry, Chris, I want to let you go ahead and talk there, but I just want
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just laughing. This is perfect. You're absolutely right. We're getting older, and the younger generation needs to learn. Look, you look at the way these the leftists are trying to pull off statues. They're trying to minimize our history because they want the future generations not to know what's going on. We know what's happening, but they want the future young people not to know. That's why you're saying the sacrifice that you, Tony, and Cherie, your dad, has had put forth for the years, and the work, Dr. Corsi, you've been doing over these years, it needs to be repeated and taught to younger generations.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, then, so one of the great things about this, Cherie, is that you're going to have an influence on helping those who are essentially recognizing they're being lied to cross that line in a good way. And Jerry is working to actually help people recognize that there's been shenanigans going on for a long time, and this is a team effort. The technology that Jerry's working on and the sweat equity, Cherie, you're putting into it are key to success. This has to be a whole of citizen effort. I don't. We are essentially people who have just said there's something wrong here. Let's do something to fix it. I'm not inherently conservative. I became a conservative when I observed Ronald Reagan debating Jimmy Carter. And I'm sorry, Amy Carter being Jimmy Carter's nuclear weapons advisor, I didn't think that was a good idea since Amy was about my age. Like, I don't think I could be advising presidents on nuclear weapons.
Didn't Abby Hoffman hang out with her at the time too, or something like
maybe,
that? Or
maybe.
Hey,
but
by the way,
Reagan, go ahead.
Oh, no, by the way, because of what you were saying, we just want to mention that Dr. Corsi will be back with updates on New York.
Yeah,
oh, good. Yes,
I'll be back through the week. I've got to get on to get these filings to Ohio. We're doing it this morning, so it's going to be a very rushed morning. But
good luck, Jerry.
I support what Sherry is doing. I think it's a great idea, and keep going. And we're going to win this election because in the end, God always wins. God did not create this place for Satan to win.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing, because I have to say honestly, because we are the age we are, I see the left as well, if you're cheating, let's say in a relationship, you're always going to be the one that's going to turn around and accuse your partner who isn't cheating of cheating.
Yep.
And with this
Rejection.
with the voting, exactly, and with the voting, which I found so bizarre, is that they keep saying you have to say that the election was not stolen. Why? Why would they say that? Because it was stolen. That's why. I mean, it's just they're making it so obvious to me that they rigged that election in 2020. And so what you're doing, I just thank you so very much.
Well, this is going to be, I think, eye-opening for the American people to realize the extent to which the algorithms have corrupted the state databases, and when it's going to take a couple of weeks to get this across. But this God's Five Stones website is going to have the information on it. We're going to share it, and people, I think, are going to pick up on it. I think this is a subject for Elon Musk to pick up on because it's election integrity. And once they realize that they've got, intelligence agency quality encryption of state databases, if that doesn't bother people, I don't know what's going to bother people. The intelligence agencies can't run our elections. We cannot allow the intelligence agencies to run our elections.
Nope.
Okay, so much more will be coming. I'll come back, Tony, this week on do reports as these filings are occurring. And next week, as we're looking at the additional states, and
hopefully we'll have you back Wednesday for a quick update. But we'll do that,
yes.
and then we'll be back next Monday. So anyway, but good to be here.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
By the way, thank you. And so Cherie, I do have a question for you. It's kind of a technical one, so I don't want to get you into techno. But do you think Tim Walsh's wives has more stones than Tim Walsh does? Just asking because the whole turn the page, turn the page. It's like, man, I mean, people are psycho on the left these days. It's like, no, it's like, it's pretty easy. It's like, I don't want to be part of that, whatever it is, just
No,
saying.
we can't turn the page on what Walls did though in the past, and this is something that we have to keep repeating. He's the guy who, tampons notwithstanding, but he's the guy who actually told people to snitch on each other when it came to COVID violations. And I mean, walking
yeah.
5 feet instead of 6 feet by taking a mask off or something like that. This is a precursor to the Chinese social credit system, and this is what the left wants. It sounds minor when you say, "Oh, call on this." No, this is something they're testing out the American people. They tested out to try to test out our resolve and our willingness to abide by orders during the pandemic. And they also had some of these blue states. New York City had a snitch line as well, by the way, de Blasio. So if de Blasio and Walls share policies, I think you know the caliber of the people they are as well.
Well, the thing about the de Blasio's line, if you called that, you got a free order of fries for every report, which is really a bonus.
Oh, well,
remember
I
him
will
eating
say
the
with
fries?
oh yes, how can you not forget? But with Walsh's wife, I mean, when you can see the whites on the top of the eyes, it's Benzedrine or Adderall or cocaine or some crazy drug because she is out there. She is. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. And by the way, when you see
and
them,
so is he when he walks out on stage and he does. I mean, I'm thinking, God, I didn't even do that when I was on cocaine back in the 70s.
So,
crazy.
But quick public service announcement. Chris just reminded me, just say no to Haitian jerk kitten. Don't eat them. Don't eat them. I don't care what it takes. Don't do that.
And when you're at a Walls or Harris speech, protect your cats.
That's
Make sure they're watched very well. And yes,
that's right.
There is no truth to the rumor that we're going to be collaborating on a book called Feline Delights. It's not. We're not going to be making a cookbook there, but
we're going to get in so much trouble with that today, Chris. Don't even put a fine paint on. It's like I can say so many bad things right now, and I'm not.
David Muir is going to be very upset.
I'm not going down. I am not going down the door. I'm mixing my metaphors. I'm not going through the door that Chris just opened. I am not saying anything. I am shutting my mouth. But Cherie, don't shut your mouth because we want to hear two things before you go. Right. First, let's talk about Leaving Amy real quick. Let's do an update on that. Where are you guys at with Leaving Amy?
Yes, well, I'm carving this week for them because we are going to do a big raffle and raise money to get this film done. And excellent. It's very, very exciting. I think hopefully it might be out December, early 2025. I'm just hoping that we're still a free country in that time. So that's so difficult, to be able to really concentrate on what is so important when everything's burning around us right now.
Yeah. So keep in mind, go check out Leaving Amy. If you can make a contribution to that, please do. This is a worthwhile effort that will actually help bring positive attention to the negative challenges that face the trans community. And Cherie, you know this. I always talk about this. A lot of your gay and lesbian friends now follow me. We don't care who you sleep with. We don't. We only care about protecting the children and their interests and educating people to understand that, man, you make some choices that seem to be popular 1 minute, you're left with a lifetime of horrific medical challenges that I don't think they're not upfront with you about it, Cherie. I think they lie to people about what to expect once they transition. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, I mean, they're telling these kids that these drugs they're taking are reversible. These puberty blockers and these cross-sex hormones, they are not reversible. There is nothing reversible about it. And they're blatantly lying to the parents and the children. And had these children been told the truth, like Matt Ray, who stars in Leaving Amy, it would have been a whole different situation. But he's maimed for the rest of his life, and he's got tics and pain. I mean, agony all the time from these surgeries, and he's just too much testosterone has really damaged him. It's just terrible what they're doing, and it has to be stopped.
Yeah. Two other things real quick. So, Cherie, you just completed the tour, not of duty, but rock and roll. Thank God. You
Yeah.
and so you're doing another later this year, and you're going back in late November and in December, right? Back to the UK and Scotland.
Right, mid-November, and of course, they're arresting people now, Tony.
I
Have
know.
you I don't know,
For the
yeah, you
internet-
know,
Well, that's
that
good
that
because
Commenter.
Jen. I don't want to get Jen in trouble. Jen is not coming on our show. Just saying
For that
because of some of
reason,
the
yeah,
things
we've
that
been emailing. Yeah.
she's concerned about. And I don't
she
want to get her
should
in
be.
trouble.
Yes.
And
she should be.
I've been worried about her, because she is the most outspoken I believe
know.
I've ever seen.
Yep,
And I mean, just it's frightening because, of course, I was arrested in the UK when I was in the Runaways. The only time I've ever had a brush with the law, and I was not pleased.
Yeah.
Well, what did you
And
do? Did you have tea time at 3:59 instead of 4 o'clock? I mean, they're strict about that there too.
well,
Well,
r-
and then
yeah,
of course, well, Cherie, did you say something about their teeth? Because they're very, very sensitive when you bring up their bad teeth as British.
no,
Just saying.
I never
Heyo.
said
They
that. No,
almost
no,
arrested
no.
me over that. It's like,
Now we're getting
did you
Cherie
say
in
bad
trouble.
things about our teeth?
Yeah.
No, not me. That
Oh,
was someone else.
She's
But no,
that
I
generations ago, probably.
oh,
Wow,
boy.
That there
don't
was
know.
teeth problem. I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
know
If
that
you're
in
me-
the Ministry of Silly Walks. I think they still have
Yeah.
those too.
if you step off the plane and you have people picking you up right off the plane, hauling you off to the pokey, well, I think that's Tony's fault. So it's our
Yeah,
fault.
blame me.
no,
Well, the
it-
last thing I want to cover on that is like that on the 1st of November, Whiskey A Go Go is the place
Right.
to be, right, Cherie?
Yes, yes, and Tony, you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there. That's right.
Yay.
We're all
Yes,
going to
it's
be
gonna be
there for
great.
Cherie and Marie's 21st birthday, right? You guys are turning 21.
that would be awesome.
You're
Yeah,
finally going to be
65th.
legal. You'll be legal
Yeah,
finally.
I'll be
21.
fine. I can't believe it.
Oh, boy.
But
Here we
anyway,
go.
I'm telling you, if I get arrested, I'm calling you, Tony. You better pull some
Yeah.
strings for
Get
me,
the bail
baby.
Who are you going to
Bail her out.
call? That's right. Who are you going to call? That's right.
Exactly.
So, all right. So it's been a great show. See, we this is the fastest hour in on Rumble because we're past an hour. Cherie, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing your walkaway video. People check it out on X. It's out there now. I tweeted it. It's on my feed. Check out Leaving Amy. It's a very important film that they're working on that will help educate and bring real facts and understanding to the situation which a lot of folks who are drawn into the trans movement have to face. It's a bleak reality which people have to be clear and steely-eyed about what's really going on. And check out Cherie and the Whiskey A Go Go. By the way, Cherie, did you know? Because I asked this the other day of one of your other friends. I think it was Susan. I asked her. It's like, did you all know that one of my favorite songs, which was relative to my profession, Secret Agent Man? Did you know that Johnny Rivers recorded Secret Agent Man at Whiskey A Go Go back in '62? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I
Cool.
didn't know
Yeah.
that, Tony. That's some pretty good historical stuff there.
Yeah. So, well, I'm
But-
a
but-
historic buff. And I'm
Yeah.
in the buff sometimes too, so it works out well.
But you know what I wanted to also say, but thank you for promoting Leaving Amy. It is so important to me. But also, I met with Brandon Straka personally, and we hung out for a couple of hours, just the two of us, for a few hours. And his story of being arrested for January 6th is
Oh.
frightening.
Look,
mean,
I
the
met
FBI,
another
but-
guy over the weekend who was arrested just because he walked in 2 hours after the initial interest. Trust me, this is not over yet. And
But they
Brandon,
made-
I'm sure. is
Yeah, they
horrible.
made Brandon lie. I mean, they basically blackmailed him. The FBI did, and it threatened him with years and years in prison for something he didn't do. They knew he didn't do it. He had video to prove he didn't do it, but he had to plead guilty. These people are evil.
Oh, they're horrible. 'Cause
Evil.
Yeah, they'll threaten you with against your family. Okay, Dr. Corsi was here. You remember he and Roger Stone were brought in handcuffs.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the perp walk was put on CNN. It was called ahead of time, and he was told to lie and say he had association with Julian Assange to make Trump look bad and try to pull that Russia hoax on
Yeah.
him. He just said
Totally
he just wouldn't
insane.
lie, and he
Yeah.
basically it was Dr. Corsi who broke apart the entire Mueller investigation.
Yeah, he basically was threatened to go to jail. It's like, yeah, I don't care. So, well, we need more people who have that kind of bravery. Brandon has it. You have it, Cherie.
But not
Chris
this
has it.
Brandon. Not that
Yeah.
Brandon.
No, not that one. No. But he apparently he's going MAGA. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that rolls. But Cherie, thank you for being here. We want to have you back soon to continue our conversation and help you with getting the appropriate attention on leaving Amy and everything else we're doing. So God bless you, Cherie. Love you big. Thank you for being here. We'll see you again soon.
Love you guys. God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I got to do some business. Boy, oh boy, another hour has gone by super duper
Big day.
fast.
Yeah, you're doing
I
big
know.
day.
Where does the time? No, I'm serious. I mean, our Patriot friends, where does the time go? I mean, it's like I got to get going because we got to get to other things. We could talk
Yeah.
another hour easy.
Me too.
So we'll talk to our overlord Ed about that again because I know everybody the evil overlord. You ever watch Mystery Science Theater 3000? He's like Dr. Forrest Clayton.
Well, does that
Clayton
make
Forrester.
does that make me Crow?
No, it makes you the TV's Frank.
Oh, there we
So,
go. Okay, I could do that.
Remember that? I used to love that now, but I'm geezing now. I'm geezing, so I need
No,
to get back on
hey,
task. Anyway,
you be the Joel. That would be great. It would be awesome.
I don't know if I'll be Joel or not. I mean, I like Joel, and there was Nielsen too, Mike Nielsen. So
That's right.
so and they from Minnesota, don't you know? Back before Minneapolis turned into a Somalia. Just
Before it
saying.
went to Wall's Land. Yes, I got you.
Yeah, Wall's Land. It's like Disneyland where everybody's on LSD constantly and don't bathe for 2 weeks.
Ah,
That's
gross.
that's Wall's Land.
Oh boy.
It's like,
Hey-o. You get a
Hey-o.
hail for that one.
yeah, that's right. So, but one thing I don't want to hail on is Paul Stone. Paul Stone of Colonial Metals Group. Our friend Paul is bringing you this. If it wasn't for Paul, we wouldn't be here.
That's right.
We'd be off like I don't know, hanging out.
We're fans of Paul.
Yeah, we'd be out at 7-Eleven buying coffee right now if it wasn't for Paul. Just saying. So check him out. He's got solutions that you need to look at regarding sustaining your family's economic success. Check out Ed Henry, colonialmetalsgroup.com, Ed/Ed-Henry. You will not go wrong. Right there. There's our boss, the overlord known as Ed Henry. Right there. Go check them out. Check out Colonial Metals Group. They have options regarding gold and silver, which will help solidify your future, your family's future, and your peace of mind. One thing I talked about, I just tweeted out earlier on, if you follow me on X, is that our money has lost 25% of its value in the last 3 years because of the failed policies of this administration. And oh, by the way, we're all hoping for the best, but you got to plan for the worst. If Harris wins, they're not going to change policies. If you think 25% inflation's bad, just wait till you get to 50.
Yeah, nobody.
Because I think yeah. So go check out Paul Stone. We're not trying to scare you. We're trying to say this is a benefit you can have by crossing over and obtaining hard currency, still gold and silver. These things are things that do not lose their value. As a matter of fact, when we've lost all this value in fiat currency, they've gained in silver and gold. You can't go wrong, right, Chris?
No, it's true. And silver and gold are projecting by a lot of people to move higher. Now, we're not financial advisors. We're not telling you this is our advice. What we are telling you is check out some.
I'm telling you, just check them out.
Research, right? Do your
just
own
go
research.
do your own research, right?
But also check out Colonial Metals Group.
Yeah, check them out. So Matt, Chris, it's been like we're over time, and we're going to get yelled at again for being over time because we went way over time this time.
But our Patriots.
I know I'm going to have it. Yeah.
Our Patriots here seem to be okay with this. So, thanks for sticking with us, right? That's what I would say.
Still a good group with us right now. Yeah. So we got to go, folks. Thank you for being here. Share this with your friends. Right. Cherie and the team, her team is doing great things regarding changing the perception of what it means to be a good citizen. A good citizen thinks for themselves. They don't just kind of go with the lemmings. And then Jerry is doing God's work, literally trying to figure out how to counter some of the inherent technology that's been used to undermine. Can I say this? Undermine our democracy? I guess I can say that because that's what's happening. They're undermining the republic.
They're a threat to democracy. Is that what it is?
That's right. They always accuse you of what they're doing, and that's the truth. So anyway, thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, right?
Same Tony time, same Ed channel. There we go.
That's right. Well, have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.